Hallo und herzlich willkommen zum Auf Die Fresse, the WXW review podcast in English. I'm Ian Hamilton, joined once again by Mike Kilby. And Mike, we're just settling on another long weekend in Ruhrpott. How's it going?
Yeah, lovely. I feel like I always feel that Tagfest is the end of the summer. It's
Probably
kind of
felt
like
like this year.
it's when you that's when you as soon as Tagfest is over, you come back to England and the nights are drawing in, and so it always feels like a bit like the end of the year for me.
And also, it's like, weather, especially this year, is just absolutely mental there. Like, so the Thursday for Inner Circle, everyone was a drowned rat. Friday before night one, threatened to be the same. By the end of weekends, like, shirt and shorts wear. It's like most of the seasons in one weekend. We had that for Carat weekend too.
I wore shorts at every single show this year because it was warm enough to, and it just wasn't cold at all. So I
Yeah.
just wore I just wore shorts at every show. Yeah, no, it was weather-wise, it was lovely. Well, apart from like there was a big town. It was wet on Thursday for Inner Circle, as it always is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was sunny. It was sunny the first time. Then it was snowy, and then this year it was rain. This year it was raining. Friday night it was wet going in, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was in the
Yeah.
queue and I found out the hard way my Jets jersey holds a lot of water. Like, even if the interval, I was still wringing out the sleeves on it. That's how bad it was.
Well, yeah, it wasn't too bad. I went to me and a few people. We went to me, Snowboy Sean, and Gadge. We went over to Essen for the day. I've never been to Essen proper. I've obviously been to where the old academy was, but sort of had a one round the city of Essen, which was quite nice. Quite a nice place actually. And yeah, that was quite nice. And then obviously got back to Oberhausen, got back to the hotel, and then we get absolutely dumped all this water on us. So yeah, that was good fun. But yeah, it was great weekend. Weather I think is always better in for Tagfest. I think you get the end of the summer rather than the end of the winter like you do in March.
Yep.
So yeah, it was a really good fun weekend and lots of really great wrestling as well.
Yeah, we're not going to go match for match and all reviews on backbodydrop.com now, but yeah, across the board, if you want to compare it to Carat, Evan, notably not high standard. I think, from Inner Circle all the way through, if you just focus on the in-ring, hell of a weekend. And again, you can speak for GCW shows I skipped out on those, but yeah, we say we're not going to go match for match, but I know every festival weekend there's always like one or two names who will jump out as, yeah, I thought they were going to be okay, but they actually grabbed the whole weekend with both hands. For me, Manders, like he was main event in a circle against Styria, and spoiler end of the weekend, he ended up qualifying for Carat next year. There's a guy who I've seen bits and pieces through Beyond and US Indies. I thought he really jumped off the page this weekend.
Yeah, I quite liked Manders as well. I have to admit, like, I'll be completely upfront. I was kind of prejudiced against GCW wrestlers because, completely unfairly, I may add as well. I was quite
Apart
prejudiced
from Blake
against
Christian.
but I was completely prejudiced against GCW wrestlers because uh, I don't watch GCW, and the people that I know and speak to and trust, they treat GCW as a bit of a joke, for whatever reason. So I kind of was like, well, and I know there's some good wrestlers for GCW, but I didn't know who they were because I don't watch it. So yeah, no, both of the second gear crew I absolutely loved. I think they were great. I ended up sitting next to Mance Warner on the flight home.
Oh, you have a lucky Sodu who sat next to.
Yeah, yes, I sat next to him. Lovely, lovely bloke. He struggled with his plug. He couldn't get the plug to work on his seat, but that was the other thing. But I I said hello to him and I said, enjoyed him at the weekend, but I said, listen, you're not at work now, so I'll leave you be, sort of thing. And he's like, oh, thanks, dude. But yeah, no, I loved both of them. They were really good. And I also thought that Jordan Oliver I really quite liked from the GCW group. I really quite liked. They weren't on it, but Dark Sheik I thought was quite good fun. But yeah, there's a lot to get through. So before we start jumping around, let's stick to the stick to the roadmap.
So obviously in a circle, Novak kicked off as always. The crowd's a little bit down, I thought, compared to at least Carat. I mean, if only just the fact
In
that we
terms of
weren't.
crowd size, or
Yeah, I mean, if only for the fact that we weren't like shoulder to shoulder, at least the back wall where we were. It didn't feel as packed, between the ring and the wall. Or is that just people learning it's an absolute sweatbox and they don't want to gamble being, right by what may be a closed window, but at least this time it was wide open.
I think the issue that WXW's had with this tournament is it was announced around the same sort of time as Wembley was. Well, obviously everyone knew that Tagfest was around, but probably around the same sort of time that people would say, right, I think I'm going to do Tagfest. I need to get my flights sorted, need to get my hotel sorted. AEW announced Wembley. And I think for that reason, a lot of the people who possibly would have travelled over for it, because, well, our group I think there was 9 people in our chat. I think. And I was looking at previous ones, there was like 18 and, 20, 30 people in previous. So there wasn't that many people here, at least from our travelling circus.
I noticed a few were looking to go for
and also some of the
Wembley announced and it's like, yeah, that's all off.
Yeah. So it's kind of like it's just there was a lot of there wasn't. I think they've kind of been a bit cursed by Wembley this year. So and I don't know. Hopefully, it won't be affected so much next year. But I think in a circle, especially, it was a bit more spread out. It was. I didn't actually feel that uncomfortable this time.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we were all by the windows, and we've kind of made enough tweaks now where we've got the windows open, so it does get a bit warm by the interval, but not like this time last year, the first one. My God, I think people were about to, collapse by, especially from a long first half. But I thought in a circle, a really good show. I think the consensus was probably one of the better, if not the best ones we've had, definitely since they've moved to Gelsenkirchen. Few surprises.
Yeah.
We had, say few surprises. Only one match was announced on this. But we had Patrick Bork. He was on, so we're keeping that whole thing going. And we'll see late in the weekend he pops up once more. Astronauts, you mentioned before we started recording. They debuted against Ilya Bloom and Peter Tihanyi, a cracker of a match. Good way to get people used to them. If they'd never seen them before, hands up. I never got around to watching anything Astronauts related before the tournament. So that was a hell of an introduction to them. Jacob Crane finally getting through his PTSD on Psycho Mike, and that kind of. If the storyline was wrapped up with Carat in terms of the meme part, I think this weekend probably wrapped up the he's no longer afraid of him, he's actually beaten him kind of thing. I think a few of it. I guess we've got a few bullet points, and I think the one thing which we've spoken out, I guess ad nauseum. Eve Everett, every time she's been over, it's not been the same match. And I think this weekend's probably been the pinnacle of, I don't want to say the creative, but just the presentation. And I think a lot of this weekend, unfortunately, was because Becca dropped out with a knee injury. So a lot of what was planned, or I suspect would have been planned, she ended up filling in. And you just have that whole presentation, obviously not in a circle, but the multiple shows at Turbine Hall, the shirtless security guy, the music was way better than any replacement theme Martinez had, people found on Spotify by the end of the first night, I believe, and it's been everyone's mind since. I think the whole presentation of Ava Everett, Jacob Crane, Aaron Rock, from the whole Y2 Cuties group. I think that's been maybe the big takeaway of, it's like how the indies used to be. You'd have a character, you'd get to a point where it's like, okay, I've seen you, go away. You'd come back maybe slightly refreshed. I think that's, we've said this in the past. Ava's come back multiple times. The same core character, but it's not been the same act. There's always been something added onto it. It makes sense.
And it's always improved as well. Not to say any of it ever is particularly Well, I think her first trip over, that was obviously Carat 22, wasn't it? I feel she kind of was just there. We're like, oh, okay, well, this is somebody who's turned up. Because you do get people who just turn up for these weekends, don't you? But yeah, I think she doesn't take. I think the thing about Ava Everett, and say we always end up singing her praises after these weekends, but I don't think she doesn't take the German fan for granted. And I think if you come to WXW and you phone it in, or you kind of rest on your laurels, doesn't necessarily always go over too well.
Yeah,
Whereas Ava Everett, I think this is basically always her. This has to be her biggest win. This must be the place she's presented more than anywhere else, surely, at this point.
yeah. I mean, I'm looking through a cage match, and when I was looking early today, and I was stunned. I think it's only TNT in Liverpool has had her in the UK, and I'm amazed. Like,
Well, yeah, I know she's not worked in Britain, but surely in America, like, there's not anybody else kind of
um,
pushing her like this, really, is there?
not really. So Limitless, she had this group. I say had like past tense. Similar kind of group called Art with Aaron Rorkin, but
Yeah, AR,
listen.
yeah, TE, yeah.
But I mean, it's the kind of thing like I've been following her since early days with Anthony Green when she was Platinum Honeys.
Yeah.
So there's a massive repackage from that to where she's now, and it's not been like I've gone away for a month, I come back, and it's massively refreshed character. It's been iterative, and yeah, there's been the big refresh. I think it would have been during COVID where I think it's a tag partner stopped wrestling or as much to what we have now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking now. Early COVID tag team for Davey and the girls, who then now what do you have with Art slash Y2Q. So that whole thing, yeah, definitely WXW has been the place where the big refresh has been. Now I'm just
Yeah.
looking through. I mean, heck, just from the cage match, you're looking at the Chaos
It's
run
one of
last
these things,
year.
I bet she probably wishes she could be here all the time. I think, really.
I mean, in
I
terms
bet
of
she
recent
wishes.
bookings, I mean, I'm looking like this time last year she had September, no, Tag Festival weekend last year through the end of October. Then that was pretty much every weekend WXW ran. Then you're looking limitless end of October, nothing till New Year's Eve weekend. Again, that could easily be injury. I don't
I
know.
think the beautiful thing about Ava, though, is Ava in WXW is that even when she's not there, she's still a part of it.
Yeah,
Whether she's sending something in or she's, they sometimes whack a quick promo on the Instagram. Even if she's not there for 2 months, she pops in and she's in and out character. Sort of a bit like what Kelly and AJ were for a bit, weren't they?
yeah.
Um, they're still a part of the WXW ecosystem, if we sort of say that way. So like that for that reasons, like I think that's why I think she's so. I think she just gets WXW and what it means really, and what it means to wrestle there. And I think I think if she moved to Europe full time, she could. She'd probably be in an excellent place, and I dare say she'd probably be one of Europe's best workers. To be completely honest.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, almost like
Yeah,
the
they're
term
male
age
or female,
overused.
not even separated there. She'd probably be one of the most professional, excellent workers I think we'd have in male or female, genuinely.
Was it? I'm trying to think. Was it Shortcut to the Top this year? There was one show she came back on this year of WXW, and I'm frantically scrolling through to see where it was. Where there's something like her gear got lost in transit,
Yes,
so
she
she
did.
had to go to. And it's an old house and show because I remember them saying this was like results for H&M or TJ Maxx run. And it's like
Yeah,
if you hadn't said that, you would not have noticed. I'm not saying that her normal gear is too casual, that kind of thing, but the fact that you've managed to cultivate a character where even airlines screwing up your luggage, and other guys this weekend have the same problem.
yeah.
No,
Unfortunately, yeah.
yeah, where but your entire gear being lost in transit or delayed in transit, and you can go to hit the high street. get new gear and not look out of place. I mean, we've seen guys who lost the game, have had to borrow somebody's trunks and boots, and it kind of hobble along looking okay. But yeah, I think that's just a testament to the fact that the couch is developed and cultivated. I say, I mean, I think we said earlier, apart from maybe TNT and I think Resurgence, she's done very little in the UK. A lot of this has just
That's
been,
baffling.
yeah. I mean, I say amazed, and this isn't a shot at Rev Pro. I'm amazed Rev Pro haven't at least taken a look. I'm more surprised Eve haven't taken a look. Bear in mind that's
Well, I'll be honest. We laugh at that. I'm surprised Progress haven't taken a look. Like she's got the sort of character that for every negative thing you can say about Progress, and there's a lot you can say about Progress. They have the setup at all of their shows where they could make Ava Everett look very good.
Yep.
In the sense of, say, jokes aside about how Progress is, they could make Ava Everett look good, and also they've got previous of presenting WXW. Only just this past month, Lawrence Roman did Progress with the Shotgun title. So there's no reason why they can't do Ava Everett with a WXW Women's title defense at the
I mean,
ballroom or in
I
Sheffield.
know we're probably going massively off track, but I would wager, like, we were there when they had the big run of Maggot, and it's maybe me putting two and two together and getting
Oh,
five.
100% she would be popular. She would be
Carrot,
popular with.
Carrot last year, the two fellas who are on Progress now were at Carrot 2022. I know that because they were in the same hotel I was in. And that's when, a few months later, you had like your Maggots coming over, the four-way they had for Strong Style. I've not
Yeah.
seen them
If
in
they
any
were
of the
here
shows.
this weekend, if they
But
were
if
here
they
this
were,
weekend, they would have. Yeah, if they'd been at the last 2 weekends, they would have booked Dave Everett by now.
yeah.
It's just
Anyway,
simple. Yeah.
get them back on the
Anyway,
beaten track.
stop talking about rubbish Brit Rest.
So yeah, in a circle, that's a really strong. Again, if you want to cherry pick astronauts against Boom Tihani,
Yeah.
that's the one you need to go off your way to see. Irie and Manders in the main event. Less than
Yeah,
10
that's
minutes, but
quality.
quality main event. I was surprised because again, my people who are German, kind of picked up. They'd announced Crane and Psycho Mike's main event, and it was announced when I saw the subtitles later as a co-main event. So I'm finishing putting my cam away. Oh, it's now a main event. What? And then Irie Manda. So yeah, nice surprise main event from the show was pretty much all mystery matches, but yeah, really good. I think that whole show was under 2 hours as well on VOD. So something to stick on the background. It's not
Yeah.
going to take up your whole evening.
It's a nice quick watch. Yeah.
Moving on to night one of Tag Festival. Spoiler, these were all tag matches. For me, what jumped off the page was Renegades and French Adors, first round. Icarus and Dover.
Astronaut second gear crew as well was very good.
Yep.
I thought.
Yep, I went 3 3/4 on both those.
Yeah.
And Icarus Dover main event, if only for the sheer spectacle.
Yeah, that was a very brutal match. Obviously, the culmination of the last Arrow storyline, I believe.
And some say Icarus is still bleeding today.
Yeah. I tell you, if he sneezes in his presence, he'll cut exactly. Yeah, if he goes on the tram in Budapest, it goes over a bump and he cuts open. Yeah, I believe that is the end of Dover now, at least in WXW.
Yeah, he did the farewell. I know originally it was after Broken Rules when they kicked him out. There's talk that was the farewell, but at least he's been able to say farewell. That bit wasn't shown on the VOD for obvious reasons, so I guess it's leaving the door open. But for all intents and purposes, that was Dover done.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, carry on.
Sorry, no, I said it very much. That match was obviously I think one of the most brutal matches that WXW's done in a long, long time. But it did very much feel like a follow that to GCW less than an hour later.
Yeah, you have a barbed wire, and doing with the ring,
Yeah.
the top rope, and all that stuff. Have a staple gun.
Yeah.
Like actually stapling a photo and then ripping a photo off, but the staple still being there. Yeah, that's not something for the squeamish, but something I want to mention. So this weekend, if you watch from VOD on WXW Now's or WXW's YouTube, no Dave Bradshaw this weekend. Dave Prazak and Robin Christopher Forwerk did the
Yeah.
English commentary, and you mentioned Mance earlier. Prazak was on the same flight back as us. I think him and Mesh were the Iron Men of the weekend. All 8 shows they did commentary on, and just seeing Dave in Dusseldorf Airport on the Monday afternoon, it looked it. He looked absolutely cream. I mean, especially when you think, like, I know GCW's his bread and butter, does Black Label Pro and other indies, but coming in a product that I don't want to say he's not seen much before, but clearly
Potentially not as au fait as others. Yeah.
not as familiar, a lot more lines and notes, did not look out of place here.
And also leading a commentator who's not that experienced as well in Forwerk. I mean, admittedly, Forwerk was working a character, but he obviously he did also lead him very well. Sort of as he didn't.
I don't listen to German feeds. I would not be stunned if this was Forwerk's not first. Definitely in English. I've not heard him do English commentary before. But
Yeah.
if this was like his first gig, I mean, hell, we said this when they put Mesh on the English feed. WXW, they've got a long record of finding bilingual German English speakers who
Yeah.
fit the job like a glove, and that lineage continues.
Yeah, it was all. Yeah, I thought the commentary was very good. Well, it was. I think the at least in terms of the English commentary, obviously not touched the German, but yeah, I thought Dave Prazak was obviously very good at it anyway, and I thought Robin held his own certainly very well as well.
What did you think of the change of the tournament format? So obviously the big deal when we last recorded was, it's not going to be round robin. It's 12 teams into 6 into a elimination three-way. We didn't get a lot. I think we spoke over weekend. When you do a 4-team round robin thing, there's only so many permutations you can come up with before you hit the same beats. What do you think of the tournament format in general? Like, especially with being like a blind draw.
Well, it was a bit like it was kind of a return to the format of 2019, wasn't it? It was the return to that format. Admittedly, with less, it was less of a mess because there was less import teams. I think they worked out that if you are going to do, was it 12 teams?
12 teams this year, yeah.
12, yeah, if you're going to do 12 teams, you need to have enough that are local. Enough that are local that if some you leave less opportunities for things to get messed up, basically, don't you? Yeah, I thought I quite liked the format. It kind of meant that there was less tournament matches, which I have to admit, I say probably not the right way to think about these weekenders, but I always feel that the most exciting thing around these weekenders are the other stuff. It's not necessarily the tournament isn't always the be all and end all of the weekends.
I think by night 3, it could kind of wear down, like, I know it's night 3s in the past where we've had all the final block matches and the finals. Like, there's maybe future tags, whereas at least this year, after night 1, there's a lot more variety in them. Of course, night 1 was all going to be all tags, but going through a lot of local teams, and this is probably going to get me some stick from a few folks. Was it made massive love felt massively overshadowed? Not just in their match with Rourke and Everett, but the acts on that weekend, like we did the big musical entrance, the almost like the stained glass window cartoon entrance. To me, it just didn't seem to click, and I don't know whether it was a case of me personally. I still
think
can't
for me,
smile happy yearn, or whether the act itself just has that stink of the Norman Harris feud, which just never seemed to end earlier this year.
it's very well. Like, I think first of all, it showed up Lavagnol as Yearn's actually is the charismatic and is the charismatic person of the pair. It completely showed him up. Everyone seemed to be more. Yeah, Lavagnol was sort of just standing at the side, kind of going, yeah. Yearn obviously is the worker in the group, and he has a style which is maybe not to say not he's not always been the most popular wrestler in Oberhausen. I think that's kind of the
Yeah,
way we say, because he works he basically works like Batista, and obviously Oberhausen loves their work rate.
and body
And
slams.
yeah, but they know what they like, and I don't always think Jörn is the epitome of what Oberhausen likes, rightly or wrongly. But yeah, I think the issue is that there was at least three, I'd say, comedy teams. I don't say not so saying. Well, I think Y2Ks we can consider a comedy team. Maggot and Psycho Mike, comedy team. Massive Love, also a bit of a comedy team. So
Hector and
there was
Cash
just two,
maybe as well.
yeah. Oh, sorry. Obviously, sorry. Of course. Yeah. So four comedy teams out of 12.
And we put them
One
both
was
all against each other in the first round
yeah.
as well.
One of them is obviously going to flounder, aren't they? And it seems like, yeah, I feel that there's just you're quite right. Yeah, you're quite right in the sense that they're saying overshadowed by Y2Cuties, because how do you not be overshadowed by it? Because like the entrance for Y2Cuties was like extravagant. They've kind of got the look all outdone, the characters all done. I think they've got an excellent straight man in Jacob Crane. Like, just I think the thing, and it does come over the weekend, is that massive love. I think they're kind of just like, well, we had a good go. there wasn't.
It
They
just
didn't
wasn't to
really
be.
seem. Yeah, it wasn't to be. So it's kind of like, weren't really. I felt a bit of a shoehorned team to whack in there, really, and I'm just glad it wasn't. I kind of not saying I'm glad it wasn't, but I kind of wonder how different it would have been if they'd maybe done Metahan and Rambo as a team instead of Massive Love.
Yeah. I
So
guess one other thing from night one. So obviously we started with so normally with tag tournaments the titles aren't on the line, but with being a knockout they were on the line. Rotten Flot and Only Friends, and I guess the main Fred and Matt match was Michael Knight getting visibly annoyed. Almost going to the dark side, for want a better word, in terms of taking shortcut tactics. With some boos when Rotten Flot lost as well, which guess maybe a bit surprised, but no, we'll come tonight too, and whether that was maybe a red herring or whatever the heck it is. But we'll skip over GCW for now. We have Femme Fatale show. There's another show that had like a few changes, I would say. So what was it? So originally it was going to be Hyan against Becca. Becca dropped out with an injury. Charlie Morgan came in. Charlie Morgan dropped out with injury or whatever the reason was. So as Rina Yamashita came in, that kind of had to make go down a certain route since she's a GCW champion. And Nicole Matthews clips of the other semi final. But meant the undercard had a fair amount of changes, but I think at least in terms of the overall package, I think some of the Femme Fatales in the past, because it's been massively tournament shows, this has had a lot more. It's had a lot more variety, and I think the show benefited from it. Um, Even if not everything clicked to whatever level.
yeah, I didn't really love Femme Fatales. I felt that I kind of it was a show that was on, but I don't feel I got anything out of it really. Um, the format, I kind of missed the. I kind of feel that whole just two match and then the final format is kind of like, well, what's really the point? It would have been better almost to just do a few tag team matches or something on
Yeah,
there. It was just wasn't. Yeah, it felt a bit of a waste really, compared to like previous tournaments where they've been absolutely stacked. But I suppose really maybe the workers aren't there these days.
I mean, we spoke about earlier in the preview show. You're looking at the field they ended up with the tournament. No German representation. Not to
No,
dig all that up again. Looking at the entire card. Baby Allison was the only German wrestler on the whole Femme Fatale show. You had Hein, obviously American, Yamashita from Japan, and Nicole Matthews, Canada, Calypso, France, Baby Allison, Japan, Germany, Michelle Green, Switzerland, Anita Vaughan from Ireland, Eva Klaski from Hungary, Regina Rosendahl from, saying Finland, and I've got that wrong, I'm going to get shouted at, but hey ho, Julia from Holland, obviously Ava and Devlin McCarb from the US. So very international, but also maybe another sign of the German scene being not quite where people would want it to be.
It's not quite where we hoped it would be. Yeah, yeah. I think there was, but there's not. I watched a fair bit of German indies, but there's just not really anybody there these days. It's a real empty scene in Germany, at least. And I think Baby Allison is the pick of the whole scene really at this point.
So again, I think from the Femme show, maybe the too much of Nicole Matthews, at least for ones I would pick out. Yeah, and I think we didn't mention this on the Inner Circle, but I think Julia, I mean, was my first exposure to her, at least live. We've got something in it, but I think we need to be very careful in how. We don't want to do the whole overexposed thing like we've seen countless times. New prospect, put them on everywhere, and then they burn out quick. But yeah, I think she's obviously from Holland. She's done lots of PWH over there, so name to keep an eye on, but not.
She's very, very highly thought of by the Dutch people I follow.
Yeah,
they kind of have her pinned as a bit of a hope, I think, for Dutch wrestling. I think yeah, that's completely fair. I think there's a lot of potential, I think, in there anyway.
fingers crossed. We're not cursing or anything like that because yeah, it's been a while since we've had a big hope from the European scene. It's
Hopefully, she doesn't run off like Orshi.
Yeah, that's a debate for another day or another podcast. That's one that was it. Anniversary last year. She had the big win over Dry Screen, then stuff happened. But
yeah.
So move on. Night 2 of Tag Festival. So this one was the semi-final. So 3 semi-finals and a bunch of other stuff on the undercard. Me, 2 matches. You absolutely need to see. Peach Tahani, Axel Tischer, the final of the best of 5 series, and they called for Party Catch. Now, I think put in the review, whenever you hear Tommy on these weekends go, these festival weekends, our matchmakers can put some unusual combinations together. Get your ass down in the seat, something special is going to happen, and my God, that trio's
and it's usually the French adores.
Yeah. Don't know what we're going to do now, but maybe opposite sides. Ares, Latigo, Mike D against Senza Volto, Igel Blanc, and Gringo Loco. Holy hell! I mean, there's only one way to say this was batshit.
Yeah, Sorry, it was Mike D with the French doors, not Gringo Loco. But yeah, I thought that it was one of the. I actually think it was one of the best mad sort of Lucha 6-mans they've done in a long time. I liked the one at Carat, but I thought this one was better. It was excellent sort of voice. Gringo Loco, I feel like he's already booked his ticket to Carat.
Yeah. So were you? I know we're jumping ahead a bit. Did you see? I think it was Gringo Loco and Joey Janela before night 3. So we did a quick turnaround.
I didn't confuse them, no.
No. So before night, so between Wheel of Wrestling and night 3, obviously it's like a very quick turnaround. And went out, queued us, and people like maybe 10 minutes after everyone had left, so it was proper queuing time. Brett Lordsdale, GCW, Gringo Loco, and Joey Janela rock up trying to get in the building. And you just if you didn't know if there were anyone special, the fact the crowd chanting, ole ole ole, Gringo Loco at them would kind of tell you. And Janela, and I'd say not getting anything but definitely overshadowed by Gringo. I would be stunned if he wasn't part of Carat, but at the same point, the thing you've got to remember is he also has AEW / Ring of Honor commitments. So that might be the kind of thing where if he's announced, it's a last minute thing in case Tony Khan decides, you know what Ring of Honor needs? Gringo Local for on a club that week. But so yeah, that's one you absolutely need to go and see, if only just for the sights of the Oberhausen crowd losing their goddamn mind. Tag matches, you had Renegades beating the Astronauts, a hell of an opener there. I think the other one as well, or maybe not results wise, Only Friends losing to Amboss, and
Yeah,
although
and losing the titles.
edged off VOD, potentially Michael Knight's farewell.
Yeah, I don't understand why that wasn't on the VOD. It's a bit of an odd one. Well, at least he's put the zebra in the ring, which I don't think is necessarily the traditional
Well, you
way
haven't
to
seen the historical wrestling retirements where put like the animal sock
the
puppets in
zebra.
the middle of the ring. No,
Well, maybe I'm going wrong. It's it's not the most not the most traditional exit, but yeah, apparently, it appears that he may be done. I don't really know what the end will. I don't know what the future will hold for him. I think I think OnlyFans is kind of ran its course. I think already now.
yeah,
Um, I think they're also WXW is maybe a bit of in a bit of a dearth of sort of singles wrestlers at the moment, especially with sort of Dreisker on top, Maggot being increasingly fragile. Tihani and Tisha obviously are both they're free now, but whacking a guns in there as well probably wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for him.
yeah. And
So
I guess your things well and be. I guess I know why they've edged this out. So pre-show, months, I forget who it was. I'm looking for him under the bus. The German Loki came out to talk trash about GCW. Mance Warner Sans merch because his gear got, well, not his gear, but his merch got lost on transit. Country Whip match, and poor Norman's back. We'd only just gotten over the last strap match, but yeah, at least as a diversion was fine. He did a lot of GCW and we'll touch on that at the end, but I think night two probably the strongest for 3 tournament nights. If only for the main event and the trios match.
yeah, I think it certainly was the strongest one for sure. The main event I thought was very very good. I think probably one of the best of the weekend, and unfortunately it was there was a lot of there was. So this is night two. Sorry,
Yeah, yeah.
night
So
three.
we had
Yeah,
the
sorry,
second GCW show
sorry.
just
You said
afterwards.
trios match, and I was like, hang about. Yes, it was certainly the better of them. Yeah.
So go to day three. So start with Wheel of Wrestling, and this threatened to be the hangover show just because we had GCW late 2 nights in a row. For the Wheel of Wrestling, I think pretty solid. You had Luke Jacobs beating Fast Time Mudo main event to get into Carat. Undercard, I'd say much for muchness. The one key, well, I guess two key story points. The one, Tristan Archer losing again, this time to Nick Schreier. The other one, Anil Marek. So night two, they did a four-way tag match. He wasn't explicitly advertised, but no showed. LSG replaced him. Night on the Wheel of Wrestling show, he's now the first employer, first hire, whatever you want to call it, first client of Robin Christopher Forberg's High Performer
Yeah.
Limited stable, which,
I'm
yeah,
I'm choosing to say sort of signing or
yeah.
something like
I
that.
mean, silence though. Like, I mean,
Yeah, because nobody knows who he is because he's only appearing on the shotgun. He's only really appeared on the
the
shotgun
Shotgun Vlogs and the Fight
vlogs.
Forever stuff. I think he represents one of the CCW teams when we did those tapings. But yeah, it's that whole thing of you're only doing these away from main shows. You are limiting the exposure. I mean, it's very early days. I mean, this literally was day one. Um, I think Anil, at least Dave Prazak's commentary saying was a lot more aggressive. That absolutely needs to be worked on, at least in terms of direction, because it was very much re-establish me as a bad guy. No more white meat, babyface kind of stuff. But no, it's certainly changed. There's a lot more fleshing out needs doing, but certainly, it's better than the rookie who unfortunately has been overshadowed by Leah Bloom and potentially Nick Schreier now in terms of being reprised pupils.
Yeah, I think, and I kind of I feel that with Ilya Bloom, sort of to go on him, I've seen him work elsewhere, and he's got a lot of potential. Well, I think in ring, I think he's probably one of the best of the young guys anyway. But the character work, I'd seen him in Wrestling Cult, and I thought he was excellent. He was playing heel there. And I kind of feel that Ilya Bloom would be really good if he sort of had a crack at something like this. But I don't. Maybe it's sort of the thing. He doesn't work well in a suit or something. I don't know. But yeah, I think there's the prize, the whole being the prize academy graduate. Obviously, he's not that anymore, is he? So
No longer the golden boy, so now he's got
yeah,
the green eyed monster.
He got rejected by Dreisker, and now he's kind of off with somebody else now.
So see where that goes. Yeah, Mudo Jacobs main event's probably the thing you need to see, if only for the Carat stuff. Although some of the comedy stuff, again, we mentioned the comedy teams earlier. Massive Love, Psycho Mike and Baby Arson against White Cuties and Norman House, Michelle Green. I think that was largely fine with the pre-match stuff with the protein powder and what's the description on the YouTube upload? Psycho Mike makes ref horny or something like that, which yeah, a far cry from
Lost
the
in
days
translation, possibly.
Yeah, a far cry from the days of Jeremy Graves, dancing around saying the name "pretty bastards." Let's just put it like that. But that was the potential hangover show. No, wasn't as bad as it perhaps could have been with some of the names working late, but yeah, and also I believe the lightest crowd of the weekend, which it is what it is.
It usually is. especially with the fact that they had they were up until 1 a.m. the night
2-3 in the
before.
morning.
Yeah, so
then start off night 3 again. So the main take home was the Dennis Castrol and Hector Invictus winning. So it's an elimination freeway. Robert Dreisker pinned Irie early on, and not Irie afterwards when I don't deserve a rematch. Robert's pinned me again. But in the end, Dulnick and Hector pinned Dreisker and Lawrence Roman. So Cash and Hector and Cash, whichever way you want to do the Comic Sans entrance video, won Tag Festival. They are the new tag team champions. And they only just came back at Shortcut at the top. So while you could maybe argue the through storylines been going since before
it's been planned for a long time.
But really, the trigger was only pulled at Shortcut when they both came back, both as surprises. So not a bad thing, but maybe it would have been nice to have had, even with Hector back, establish him before Shortcut, and then Hector coming back to Cash coming back to be the pain in the ass. But it worked. This is me just nitpicking like I always do. But again, we leave with rice pudding, and makes me feel next year what are going to be served instead. We've had so much rice pudding.
Yeah, we've had two weekenders in a row with good endings, haven't we? Well, technically 3, I suppose, with Tagfest, and depending on your view on Carat 2022. So
yeah,
it's almost potentially 4 in a row, depending on your outlook. That's we're due for a downer ending, aren't we?
And I guess speaking of downer, so of course night 2 after the party catch, Sense of Alto, Tactile Blanc left with his mask. He's back on night 3 under his new name, Joseph Fennec Jr. Submitted Latigo, and I guess if you're in WXW and you wear a mask, maybe we consider that booking, because Fennec's got a taste of masks and won the match where he took Latigo's mask. Tease putting him in STF, forced him to tap out or reveal his identity. But that was kind of clever, if not a bit.
It's a great gimmick, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I know, obviously this isn't Mexico, but Mexico and Japan, if you take the mask, it's an instant DQ. Well, it ain't Germany, so why not lean into that? Elsewhere, Manda's beating Axel Tischer to qualify for Carat, which for me, the eye-raising thing wasn't so much Manda's, it was more what's Tischer doing over Carat weekend then? Because there was that big promo beforehand of him saying, I'm going to win Carat. Well, now he ain't even in it. So unless he's going to go the long way around, road 16 Carat, lucky loser tournament like down from the 2000 FA Cup, It's he's got a long path, or he's going to be doing something else come March.
Yeah, you as long as it's not NXT Europe, it's fine.
This can be clipped and show me up, but that ain't ever happening. I've said this before. Logistically,
Yeah,
it can't happen. Ignore nowhere near hot enough to support, but just the whole where you're based, the cost of traveling. If you're gonna have fans, you're gonna have you're gonna do it. Just if you put more than
yeah,
like 30 seconds forward into it, it ain't gonna work. Ain't gonna happen. And then you've got the whole TKO merger that's just happened. They want
yeah,
to
no,
save money, not spend it. But anyway,
yeah.
back to this.
Sorry.
Francesco Key, his only match for the weekend, beat Leah Bloom. Again, we've said they say great things in Leah. A loss to Francesco Key is not going to do any harm at all. Peach Tahani beating Ares to open. That surprised me, by the way, just how split that crowd was. Bear in mind, Tahani had beaten Axeman the night before. Here, he was almost 60-40 against him in terms of crowd responses.
Yeah, I think it was with what? Sorry, with Tisha.
No, so against Ares
Sorry.
on night 3, the crowd being more pro Ares than pro Tahani.
Yeah, I think obviously Tahani and was probably more. You think? I think the thing is, I think the Overhausen crowd always likes it when you get the imports in, and obviously Tahani's it's the toy they've got at home, so they're kind of not so bothered about it in a way. I thought obviously the reaction that Tahani had the night before was obviously the 90% of the crowd was behind him. And I think it's just this was a bit of a shiny toy syndrome, really, in the sense he was a lot more popular for that reason. I feel.
Yeah. And again, you said, we've got toys at home. I think for Tahani, it wasn't like a build out for building thing. It was more people want to see Ares because it's the last time we're going to see him, at least for a while.
Yeah.
I think night 3, I think if you rank from, I'd say night 3 is the weakest for 3 nights, but
Yeah.
it's not because it stunk. It was just more. You had a lot more story stuff here, I think, rather than storyline stuff and stuff would pay
Things
off rather
to help
than
them bed in for the winter in a
yeah.
way. Yeah.
So again, going through a couple of the crowds, because I think we said, but going in, like some of the ticket sales looks a bit weird, like there's VIP stuff still available going in.
Yeah.
That was very much misnomer, just comparing like for like to last year. Pretty much everything's up. Night 1 was about 20 more than last year. Night 2, 480 compared to 355 last year, which, I mean, I know for GCW shows the buildings felt full, or looked full on camera at least. Night 3
I think
slightly
the
up from last
GCW
year.
did do good business. I think the GCW
They
did good
had
business.
they
Yeah.
had to have done. When left night 1, and that was for sure you had to buy a separate ticket for. The queue was not literally looping around the car park for the Turbine Hall.
It was
Like,
the biggest queue I've seen for Turbine Hall 2.
yeah,
For
and
sure.
obviously he's being GCW. I'm going to check, but I don't think the gate numbers get released by GCW. But I would be stunned if it was somewhere close, like maybe 550.
Yeah. It was over 500.
Just double again. It's a long shot cage match. No numbers, and WXW haven't gotten the website because it ain't WXW show. Yeah, so I guess overall, pretty much success. Any quick takes on GCW? I kind of prioritize trying to sleep above those, and at least trying
Well,
to see some of the stream night 1. No
because
dice.
I'm not a coward, I actually went to GCW,
Hey,
and I think I would probably say it was better than I thought it was going to be. I'd be lying if I didn't enjoy the shows. Night 1 I didn't love. There was some people I think suit the WXW crowd more than others, but then it was very much for the GCW shows. It was very much not a WXW crowd.
yeah,
I think Rena was very, very popular. Obviously, Second Gear Crew were popular because obviously they'd been on it all weekend.
How did Leon Slater get over on his match?
I feel like he wasn't. I couldn't really tell you really. I think the issue was he was against Gringo Loco, and Gringo Loco
Overshadowed.
was insanely popular, and Leon Slater was kind of not. So it was. I think that was the issue. I'd love to see him back in WXW, but I don't know whether it wouldn't be on the strength of this performance or reaction. It would be on
It
other.
would be on like Rev Pro stuff
Yeah.
or elsewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be on that. So, obviously it was a very very different vibe. It felt authentic, is what I would say. It did actually it did feel quite authentic. There's acts in GCW which I very much don't like.
Is it a
I
guy
said,
who's been all over
yeah.
Twitter this week?
Well, I don't follow them on Twitter, but Blake Christian I thought was. I mentioned earlier about somebody, coming over to WXW and taking an audience for granted, or not not pulling their weight. And Blake Christian's one of the. It just has to be basically the epitome of that. I don't really know who he is or what he's done elsewhere, but I think he just he just came to phone it in. He facing probably the two best workers in WXW, at least sort of in terms of work rate,
Tisha and Dirty Honey. Yeah.
Tihani and Tisha, and getting dog shit out of both of them. Let's face it, absolute rubbish.
Yeah, I mean, I heard nothing good, and I think it was the
Yeah.
Tisha match. Was it Snowboy tweeted something about how he faked out doing a dive and then he did it anyway for the lols? Like,
Yeah.
I get he's a heel, and I know a lot of people who I watch these, but I don't pay that close attention to it. Like, I put it on the background. But all the stuff about Blake Christian it seems more like before your time when X Pac was big in WWE, like late 90s. It was that go away heat.
Yeah.
But if you've got your champion in that spot, it's like,
Well, I think he was popular, but at least from my experience, I didn't like him or anything he did. So I don't necessarily know if that was an accurate representation of how the GCW fans reacted to it. But I don't feel like he was. They were just complete silence, them matches, as far as I can tell. Anyway, night 2 was a lot better than night 1. I think possibly a bit more for me anyway. I think it was because there was a bit more familiarity. I recognise people. I recognise more people on it on the Versus the World because it's people from WXW, and I felt like there was. I could sort of be like, well, I'm supporting this guy in this match because he's local, and I can support in this person in this match because of X, Y, Z. So yeah, for that reason, I think that was a lot better. I think, as I mentioned earlier, I thought Dark Sheik was excellent. I thought that I've never sort of seen them before. I thought Dark Sheik was really really good. Second gear crew was very very good. And Jordan Oliver as well. I really really enjoyed him. Rena, I really liked. Sorry.
I know Jordan's relocating to, I think, said Liverpool first quarter of next year. I think PCW, their Road to Glory thing, he's already been announced for.
Yeah,
so it
and
would not.
he'd be a very good person to have hanging around WXW, even maybe possibly getting a spot in Carat because I think he could do it.
Yeah, looking now, Jade Newman and Jordan Oliver announced, at least in terms of import. So wouldn't stun me if both of those weren't involved, but yeah, I mean, I only saw him in Inner Circle, and he fit well in, even if he was lost to Hector and Victor. So yeah,
I think and obviously finally, obviously, Nick Gage in person was an excellent experience. I think I'm glad it was worth going to see him. I feel. I think the match he had with Janela was good. And obviously the presence he has is he's one of the few major stars of American Indies at this point, isn't he? So yeah, I really did enjoy both the shows. I kind of the issue I had with them was at least the first one anyway, was it was so late at night, and after after a long old day, it's not, I think somebody said something. I can't remember. Said somebody saying that making us watch Blake Christian at 2 a.m. is akin to bloody torture or something like that. So yeah, wasn't that wasn't so good. But no, to be positive about them, there were some excellent there were some excellent matches. There were some workers who I had no idea about before this weekend that now I really quite enjoyed. And as a product, at least GCW was presented very well. If it's back at Tagfest next year, I would 100% go to them again because they were really good fun shows.
Yeah. I would not be surprised, and I've not heard anything, but GCW, they do the collective of WrestleMania weekend. It would not floor me if they announced the collective 2024 and WXW's part of it, because they've tested for us before. Back when it was with WWE, when the WWE deal was strong. So it would not stun me if random Saturday afternoon show over at Philadelphia this year. You had WXW hits, because they've done Philadelphia before. Back in the day when CCW is the big partner. So keep an eye out on that and see if that becomes something. But
I think that would be I'd be delighted because it gave me something to watch over Mania weekend. That isn't Circle 6.
Yeah, and things that on be on 5+ as well. So part of that was $6 a month now for newbies. So damn side cheap than other stuff that motion charging. But I guess other bits and pieces from the weekend. You mentioned Patrick Bork in a circle, but you lost decisive to Icarus at the Wheel of Wrestling show. So I don't know if that's leveling things up or what they're doing with GMC stuff. The fact that he had 2 matches over the weekend when, so loose part of the roster, I guess. Was that just to even up for ambition, or is this this has been pushed to the back window because we don't know for sure for now? Guess we'll find out. And I guess the other stories coming out. One complaint I had going in was it didn't feel like there was much people were doing. Fennec and Nigel Blanc, with the obvious one. Archer's got that losing run you'd expect would lose somewhere. And unless you do an Amboss rematch, what's Cash and Cash and Hector doing in terms of matches? Because you've just run through, obviously not run for the whole division, but a lot of names lost, and we didn't seem to be any obvious number 2 or number 3 in terms of title challenges.
I think you have a possible title challenge. I think I think Massive Love were very, very supportive of they were very supportive of Dennis and Hector, at least on the We Love Wrestling show. So I think you possibly have something there. The whole thing of two friend teams effectively kind of going, well, let's all they either align with each other or they face each other. I think that there's potential there. Possibly. I think Massive Love could also they could turn. I think as well. It's quite possible.
I think that's what's probably hurting is I think folks were expecting return.
Yeah, and it's not
just
happened
based on Ian's history. Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's always a bit of a shuffle, and I think until we get to the next show, obviously we got Maggot's title defense coming up in this month, isn't
it? Next month in Frankfurt.
Next month, sorry, in Frankfurt. Sorry, yeah, start of November, isn't it? So yeah, that's coming up as well. So that's something to aim for. But there's quite a few Wheel of Wrestling shows this month as well. So there's a lot to sort of come through in that sort of sense. Yeah,
quite a few weeks off, but before we'll touch on a few news bits. But yeah, quite a few weeks off. I know it was Mark Shuttle and the crew, the Inner Circle, Femtoss. So 6 shows they got out in just over a week, which is quite some going, especially when you think they didn't have the luxury of being able to edit in between shows or process between shows.
Effectively, they have to do a almost 2 months worth of shows over a weekend, don't they?
Yeah. And English and German as well, which is just absolutely bonkers. plus any tidy
Ridiculous.
ups and anything like that, which it's weekends we live for. But my God, I'm not surprised if it shortens the lifespan. Not being morbid or anything, but just how intense those weekends are. I mean, for us watching, I mean, and we don't even do any work on them.
Exactly.
But
But yeah,
so Tag Festival weekend, I went in, a little bit down, came out absolutely buoyant from it. You just as
yeah,
maybe not as down
that
going in,
seems to
but
be the
definitely
prevailing opinion.
buoyant coming out. So yeah, you don't have to
I
watch the
think I
whole
was a bit
thing.
down really because just there weren't as many people coming this time.
Yeah.
I was going again. I'm just going to be, it's going to be like 5 of us just sat sat around. But actually, the way that was really lovely. So, it was a really great weekend. I think there was no,
Up chance.
there was. Don't get me started. There wasn't anything that was garbage. We're well away from the WWE influence now. It's lovely. So it's just great time to hop back on. I feel if you've been away, start maybe looking towards March. I think you're in for a cracking weekend.
I mean, keep saying like directly now for the festival weekends, it's an absolute bargain. I mean, I'm just trying to find now if they advertise the price. It was what €6.99 or something like that. I'm desperately trying to find out where they actually show this on YouTube. Um, Membership. Yeah, YouTube's an absolute pain for showing you how much how much you're paying for this.
Oh,
I
it
mean,
comes out in a month. I don't care.
yeah. I mean, all I say is per month you're getting 6 shows, just from this weekend. There's a lot of content there. Then, as we're going to touch on a bit, there's 3 shows, 4 shows actually this month, 4 Wheel of Wrestling. So you're going to get a lot of content, a lot of good stuff just from this past weekend. And they say, we've got 4 Wheel of Wrestling when it's broken, not broken rules. It is Broken Rules, yeah. It was June last year, that's what threw me. Broken Rules next month, anniversary December, then full steam ahead to Carat season. But before we get there, got a few of the usual bits and pieces, and I guess find out where the hell some familiar faces are actually doing internationally. So a couple of names have cut back because obviously their international tours have ended, but Oscar Leuber still eating pins in New Japan. He's had a few singles matches lately, Togi Makabe, Satoshi Kojima, and Tanari. He's been making noise about taking on Tomohiro Ishii, which you'd expect is going to go one way. At the moment, he's not on the card for Royal Quest 3 in London weekend after next, which surprises me. Thought that would have been an easy gimme, or at least as a having part for multi-man. That card isn't completely announced yet, but yeah, like I say, at this point, it'd be a very late add-on. Vinny Vortex / Tempesta, he's been out injured for a few weeks, just came back weekend before last. Lost a tag match in Shankiba First Ring Tokyo, then teamed with Tyson Maddox to lose to Yasufumi Nakanui and Yuya Aoki in Osaka. Meanwhile, Leighton Buzzard, while Tempesta's been out injured, he's been tagging with Endakara, formerly of WXW, and looks like Ender's relocated to Japan permanently. So, yeah, that's something which may be worth keeping an eye on. Most recently, Buzzard tagged with Hideyoshi Kamitani, another World Tag Team League entrant from 2017, to lose to the Astronauts. Hey, we've gone full circle, Mike. Can't get away from Tag Festival this weekend.
I'm shocked the Astronauts weren't working Sakamoto and Akabayashi. They always are. Well,
Well,
no, Akabayashi retired now, but yeah.
they flew back. It was a Monday and was straight back in action. So it's not. It's not
Yeah.
literally. Can't get enough of this stuff. Um. So and then Norman Harris. Well, he's inspired this bit. He's going back to Canada next month with CWE. Going to be there from November 17th through the 26th, and working dates in places like Regina, Saskatoon, the fantastically named Medicine Hat, and Winnipeg. So
Yep.
if you're over in Canada, he's going to be terrorizing you again soon.
Medicine Hat, a big. No, I know that from the NHL games.
Yeah, what it's like a
Moose. There's Moose Jaw is the other place I
Moose
quite like.
Jaw.
Yeah,
Some
Thunder
fantastic
Bay.
names in Canada.
Yeah, Thunder Bay.
Yep.
Yeah,
For all the AAA NHL
yeah, yeah.
developmental teams. Yeah. It's funny how over here it's like Madden and NHL is how we learn American and Canadian geography. Wonder if it's the same
Yeah.
with FIFA for the Americans.
I think yeah, I believe it's a very similar thing. Yeah.
Well, shows what the school systems are like. But couple of news bits before we wrap up. So mentioned over in the Tag Festival chat, Luke Jacobs and one called Manders won qualifiers. So they're the first two names for Carat next year. Name three was announced over the weekend. Masato Tanaka. And I'll say those first three names, I mean, combinations there. But all I'm going to say is just based on this past weekend, Norman Harris, Tanaka likes chair shots. Keep the hell away from him, or very least get your hands up.
Yeah, that's a blockbuster name, isn't it? It's
I mean,
as soon as that was announced, you're like, yeah, come on.
I
That's all you
saw
can say.
Tanaka for the original one PW, I mean, the resurgence instead as well. So yeah, back in I want to say 2006. So the fact he's
Yeah,
still going in 2024 would be at this point. Now, that's a hell of a name, even just from the
yeah.
point of view of he isn't oversaturated in Europe. So, but if no, so
Well,
if you're
he did Fight Club a few years ago, didn't he?
a few years ago, it's not over every
Yeah,
few months like some are. Um, but from a point of view of he's a name from Glory Days VCW. I mean, that's making me feel old. But you've got a name who's still going, who's got through lines through to current and very recent wrestling. That's a hell of a get. And even if it's just an absolute crack with Luke or Manders or whoever, that's going to be one well worth going to see. Speaking of Carrot, single event tickets have gone up. Rose 1 to 3 already sold out. So you can be looking like 4, 5, 6 and standing for passes or single events. If you want to be up in the balcony, they are doing standing pass just for the Carrot shows for that. So again, I think it's on the eventing page. We've got so pick and choose there. As for Carrot, we've got the lineup. I know they put this on the rotation screens through Tag Festival. So Thursday, March 7th, you're doing in a circle, 7 p.m. start time in Gelsenkirchen. Friday, the 8th of March, night one of Carrot, that's an 8 p.m. start. Saturday, Wheel of Wrestling Wildcard, which we'll speak of in a second, that's a 12 noon start, followed by Ambition at 3. And night 2 at 7:30, so back to 3 shows in one day gimmick there. And then March 10th for Sunday, Wheel of Wrestling normal taping at noon. And then night 3 of Carrot at 5. And not directly, of course, but years gone by, you can expect like a fruit chopping, 9 o'clock Saturday morning start of a Cult Temple from Wrestling Cult as well. So
there's no better way to start your Saturday than seeing Mott Van Kunder's arse at 9 in the morning.
and there's a clip for everyone. But speaking of the Wheel of Wrestling thing, so we mentioned this on the last show. They invited applicants, and it's the whole thing of send us your highlight reel, a CV or what have you. Um, we'll put you up, but you've got to get your own way here. They've had over 150 applicants. So Felix Kohlenberg, you're probably sifting through them now. I hope you're getting help because my God, 150 names unless we're doing like a World War III style battle royal, you're not all going to get in the cart.
That's is that more or less than the 5-star wrestling tournament?
5-star, we're doing 128 men for the
Well, there we go.
So
There you go, Felix.
yeah, 128 man
There's an idea
tournament.
for free.
Maybe
Knock off 32. That's right, isn't it?
uh,
Knock off 30. Yeah, that's right, isn't it?
yeah.
Get rid of 32 people, and then we'll. I'll help you with them if you want.
Yeah, have it running
Get
in
Charles Crowley. Turf him out.
have it in the merch area. Have for Coward Weekends and
Yeah.
Turbine Hall 1. Have it run the whole weekend.
Yes, start it on the week beforehand, and then we'll it's fine. We'll be there.
Sebastian Hackle's going to be increasing his appearance with the XW, so he had a comeback at Chocolate for Top. His first match back is going to be against Safari Mean at Broken Rules next month, and judging on angles they've shot, Axel Tischer's going to be the end point, and maybe that's what they're going to be doing over Carat weekend.
Yeah, that. Yeah,
You sound excited.
I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, that looks like it could be a Carat thing, couldn't it?
We're doing season 6. I think we spoke last time for 2024. You've got a month as the time we drop this to get those. So Oberhausen, Frankfurt, Hamburg, tickets to every show minus 16 Carat Gold in Oberhausen, since those have already sold out in a lot of places. You're looking at €311 for standing, starting price, of course, for Oberhausen, 94 for standing in Frankfurt and Hamburg. That's 8 shows in Oberhausen, 3 Frankfurt and Hamburg. So, if you want to, block book your 2024 in one lump sum, there you go. And finally, we're starting a bi-weekly show of the Academy in Gelsenkirchen, Wednesday Heat, starting, I guess, now as we're recording this. We're doing no pre-sale tickets on the door. We're doing the 4th, that's obviously today as we record, the 18th of October. Brings the 1st and the 15th of November. So I guess if it's a hit, we'll carry on. And yeah, the Wednesday before Carat, if we keep the every other week cadence, would be a week on. So there's the possibility of this stuff starting early next year.
5-day Carat, come on.
And we're going to do it with Catch Grand Prix before COVID intervened, so you never know.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's brief news bits, but a couple of upcoming shows, because I guess, hey, if we're not going to be taping stuff until late in the month, we're not going to be back until November.
The show must go on.
So this coming weekend with the Weerbus in Magdeburg live event not being taped, Axel Tischer against Fast Time Mudo, Peter Hani and Shikahiro Irie against Robert Dreisker and Lawrence Roman, Baby Allison against Hyan. Same day, we're also going to be part of the Blacklist Festival of the Turbine Hall. Norman Harris, Patrick Bork, Icarus, Jörn Simmons, Levaniel, Ilya Bloom, and Anil Marek on a poster of that. So I guess if you're in Oberhausen and you're at the Blacklist Festival, you'll be seeing some familiar faces there, as they all seem to be this time of year. Next a couple of weeks before it basically makes tape again. So October 21st, Wheel of Wrestling 51 at the Forum in Bielefeld. And I don't think there's actually anything announced for this.
No, I don't think there is anything announced yet.
The only thing we've got is posts. So Ava Everett and Akane Fujita are going to be on those shows. Plus from the posts you have Deep F. Igel Blanc, Hyan, Lawrence Roman, Tristan Archer, Baby Allison, Robert Dreisker, Shikahiro Irie, Mike D, not Tristan Archer, Axel Tischer, and Maggot. No Castrol, no Hector Invictus for Bielefeld to notice, but again, I suppose the champions aren't in all the shows anyway, and that show is sold out. So I guess the card will be creeping out in the coming days. You'd hope. Following weekend, it's going to be another monster one for Mark and Co. 3 shows in this many days, all of them making tape. October 27th, Wheel of Wrestling 52. This was the one we were guessing. No, hey, if you guys missed the number, well, turned out we had. Stadthalle and Limbach, Oberfrona. Dennis Dolnick, Hector Invictus, and Magd against Amboss, the only thing announced so far for that. Next day, for Stromberg and Dresden, Wheel of Wrestling 53. We've got a bit more of a card. Axel Tischer against Maggot. Dreisker Nicholas against Fast Time Mudo and Peter Honey. Nick Schreier against Jacob Crane, plus Dolnick and Hector defending the tag titles against returning Gullius brothers.
Yeah.
So that's a title defense one. Because Gullius wasn't on Tag Festival weekend. Like not even
wasn't
didn't even see him around. So
Gullius, the other Gullius brother. Yeah, Vilmos was around.
Vilmos. So and then October 29th, Wheel of Wrestling 54, the Hellraiser in Leipzig. So Peter Hani, Max and Fast Time Mudo taking on Amboss. There's announced for that. So yeah, a mini Tag Festival weekend, 3 shows in as many days in 3 towns. So that's going to be quite the strain. Enjoy your time off because you're going to be put for test soon. November 4th, Wheel of Wrestling Live at the Huber Arena in Bad Sackingen. Lawrence Roman defending with shotgun title against Peter Tahani's there. Plus Ava Everett, Jacob Crane, and Alex Duke against Massive Love, and your favourite, Mike, Huber.
Huber, yes. Don't know who that is, but it's a big
mascot.
bear. It's a big bear, yeah. There's a promotion in the Netherlands at the moment, which I believe is sort of run by Rico Bushido and Dragan. And they've got a wrestling bear mascot, and I'm a big fan of it for that reason. I love a bear mascot wrestling.
No, nearly done. I'm just having to compose myself. I've got the Sunderland Watford game on in the background, and the start of the game they show like the close to the managers, and obviously get people in the crowds, unaware they're on camera. Just had a shot for Watford manager. You got this old fella sitting, front row in a wheelchair, licking his lips and rubbing his hands with glee. It's like, mate, that did not look the way you thought it was going to look. Very hot. So November, back to Wrestling Region, November 12th, Wheel of Wrestling Live at the Stadthalle in Saarburg. I think that just got announced. No matches of that, but again, like Christ, we're a month out. But on the post, you've got Joseph Fennick Jr., Kana Fujita, Cash and Hector, Igel Blanc, Tristan Archer, Eve Everett, Leah Bloom, Peter Honey, Uye, Kohai Knostra, and Robert Dreisker all on the thing. Where I swear, I feel like I've missed a match because I swear there was a Uye and Knostra tag match announced for one of these shows.
Yes, it was
Or
announced.
I just
Thing, but I don't know where it was. It was definitely announced.
scroll.
I think it was for Bad Sackingen.
Bad Sackingen, yeah. Cash and Hector against Uye and Knostra. So
yeah,
that's not making tape. And then November 11th, we'll stop the look ahead here. Broken Rules 21 for Batch Cup in Frankfurt. We've got Sebastian Hackel against the Farmeen. Robert Dreisker defending the World Wrestling Unified World Wrestling title, getting teeth in against Maggot. And Ava Everett, Kana Fujita, and Masha Slamovich all announced to be doing stuff on that show. So, busy weekend, couple of weeks off, and then it's going to be absolutely insane at the end of October. But, I guess that's the way WXW is these days. Feast or famine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a lot to go through, a lot to look forward to.
And you've got the WXW now for Tag Festival weekend.
Yeah, it's
Don't
all up there
cancel
now,
because
isn't
there's
it?
a lot all up now, and don't cancel because there's a lot more coming at the end of the month.
Exactly. And I think the back cap show, I think is going to be fascinating. I think I'd love it if they pulled the trigger on Maggot, especially in Hamburg. Sorry, in Frankfurt. Ooh, especially in Frankfurt. Yeah, I think that's it would be great to see him pull the trigger on him finally.
So see where that goes. Obviously, the next few shows, it's all had this on Wheel of Wrestling. It's the Amboss crew softening him up, so you're going to see stuff like that. But we'll see where this goes. But Mike, anything to plug? I know looking ahead, bit of an eye ahead to 2024, 16 Carat Gold and beyond. But yeah, anything to plug before
No,
we
not
head
for
out of
me.
here?
I'm Mike Kilby on everything. Blue Sky, Thread. I don't use them, but I'm on there.
None of them
Twitter,
will win.
Instagram. I'm spreading my bets. I'm on all of them. Yeah, you can follow me on there, and yeah, just chuck me a follow. I'll chat to you if you chat to me. As long as you're nice to me.
Otherwise, you get blocked.
Yeah,
I
you get
mean,
blocked.
at Ian Wrestling, Twitter, X, Instagram, Blue Sky, Thread, same thing. Websites at Big Back Body Drop on Twitter, at Back Body Drop on the rest. Yeah, we couldn't get Back Body Drop on Twitter when we started years ago. One of those things, but that will do. Mike, it's been a pleasure, and yeah, we'll be back likely November, given how much they're dropping. So take the next few weeks to watch Tag Festival if you haven't done so, and we will see you next month. Cheers.
Tschüss.